Okay. Now I'm hoping still that my live stream hangs on for today. We'll see. I've been testing it out, installed and reinstalled the app, and it seems to be working. Today is stage 3 of this month's race series, the best of, where they pick the best routes from the year. Today's rolling Highlands in Scotland. No major climbs on this one, but there are a bunch of smaller climbs to worry about that we're probably going to have to hit hard. And it's 2 laps, so we're going to have to hit them twice. We only have the Feather and the Ghost power up today. Feather is going to be the most useful. You'll notice I am not on my Tron bike today. I got to level 39 last week, after last week's race. And at level 39, you unlock the DT Swiss ARC, ARC 1100 disc wheels, whatever. With those wheels, paired with either the Specialized Venge frame or the Felt AR, I think it is, frame. Either of those 2 frames paired with these wheels are better all-arounders than the Tron bike. Right now I'm just running the Specialized bike because I like the color on it better. The Felt is just white. I'm not a huge fan of just white. But I'm also not a fan of Specialized bikes, purely because everybody loves Specialized bikes. So that's the main reason why I'm not a huge fan of them, but I'll never own one. But this is just for Zwift. So I'm kind of happy to not be on the Tron bike. I mean, I like the blue and pink color scheme I had going on it. It's pretty flashy. But it's kind of nice to be on a bike that's an actual bike that exists in real life. And it took me a little bit to get used to it, but when you're on the Tron bike, your avatar is always leaning down.
Right
when you're on a regular bike,
right on.
Your character kind of sits up when it's in the draft. It's
nice.
A visual cue to let you know, hey, you're in the draft. And then they lean down, get low when not in the draft. So it was kind of crazy getting used to seeing that again. Yeah, well, we'll see how today goes. I have no idea. Just a lot of punchy climbs that we're going to have to hit hard. But they're short, so we're not doing any crazy 5-minute efforts like we did last week. Yeah, hoping for the best. See how this new bike works for this. And we're off. Oh, and a long lead-in. 198 people today. Gotta get past the city of Glasgow. There it is on the right. And then we're passing the Skur climb, which we're thankfully not doing today. That's a hard climb. It's fine enough. One time I've done races where we climbed the tough part 3 times in the whole race. And that includes climbing the back side of it twice. Here's another one of these little punchy climbs. This one's short. Oh, there's a teammate. Who's that? Oh no, I don't see their name in the list. Someone using their feather at the wrong time. Wish I had a feather. It's coming up. It's one of the hard short climbs. That we'll have to do twice. Alright. This is it.
Right on.
Gotta use up my ghost. Ghost again. Taking off the jersey. It's cold in my basement, so I start off with the jersey on so I get nice and warm. When she comes off, So far, so good. Oh no, wait, I just remembered. We gotta do that bigger climb 3 times. The one that ends at the finish. Miscounted in my head. Oh. Another TFCer. It's called George and the Bike. Probably pronounced differently. But that's my name. Come on, Feather. Yes. Now there is a pretty steep climb coming up. It's short though. It's up into that castle. Can try and save my feather for the other climb because that one's longer. And then right into this climb. No, wait, we don't have to climb that twice. I was right the first time. No, 3 times. Duh, I just did it twice. Sorry. Brain power is not as good when I'm on the bike, working hard. It's 3 times. If we did it twice, we gotta do it one more. All the other ones are just twice. Real question is, do I save this feather for the end? There is one more gate left, but do I take that 50-50 chance? I won't, because that gate is right before that steep castle climb, which is about the only other place I would use a feather from this point to the end. So we'll just hit that one hard and save the feather. All right, gotta punch it hard here. All right, we'll take it. Woo! All right. That was something. Catching my breath. I felt pretty strong today. Not enough to get a podium, but strong for me. That was good. I'm happy all around. I was able to put out strong efforts on every one of those major climbs without giving up. So that's pretty good for me. I did a race on this route months ago, And I just remember dying on that final climb because I put out such an effort on the climb right before it. But today, I did not die on any of them. Now, I could see people pulling away on the final climb, especially as I was trying to shift into a sprinting gear and get revved up. But I made some good places. When I finished 13th, it's likely on Zwift Power after DQs that I'll be top 10. It's also possible that I'll just be 11th place. That's also likely. It is not likely that I'll stay 13th. It has happened before where I don't move anywhere. That's usually when you're already in the top 10. Because the fewer people in front of you, the fewer chances there's someone who gets disqualified. So being 13th place and only 12 people in front of me, will 2 people get disqualified? Maybe. Will 1 person get disqualified? Likely. Will no one get disqualified? Unlikely, but possible. I think I played those power-ups pretty well throughout. That was a good decision, keeping that power up for the finish. Although, if you noticed on that final climb, as we go around the bend and the gradient picks up, there's one guy who used the ghost in pretty much the only way that it's useful, and that is to hit it while you're in the group, sprint, jump out ahead before your ghost power disappears. That way no one sees you go off the front until you've already created a decent enough gap that's hard to hold. That's really the only time the ghost is useful. At the end, and if you plan on making a breakaway at any point in the race, it can be useful then. Actually, it's probably more useful in the middle of a race or anywhere that isn't the end, because at the end, people are already gearing up to sprint. So, 1, you have to work even harder to get in front of the group, and 2, if you successfully did that, the group's already sprinting or ready to sprint and can likely chase down that gap you created before the finish line, depending on when you use it. Now, if you use it in an unexpected place somewhere in the race, not at the end, you could catch people off guard and create an even bigger gap. But you need to be able to hold that gap till the end, which by yourself with a large group, it's going to be really hard to do. So maybe a good place would be before the end, but close to the end. And if you really know how well you can hold enough watts to stay away, you could probably figure out when would be a good time to hit it, get out in front, keep pushing on the pedals, sprint again if you can at the finish, just to ensure you keep the gap. But any time is going to be difficult. The finish, at least you have distance on your side. If you time it right, you don't have to hold the gap for very long to get first place. But yeah, basically if you're not going to do a breakaway, the Ghost is useless. Same with the burrito. Although the benefit of the burrito is anybody that you pass that gets behind you won't have any draft effect. So in some ways it's more effective than the Ghost because you can create that gap and make it harder for people to catch you. They can see you the whole time, but they have to work extra hard to close down that gap while you have that burrito going. So I played the power-ups pretty well today. That was a good decision on my part to hold that feather till the final climb. Like I said, that last gate before the final climb was right before that steep, short castle climb, which is about the only other place I would use a feather than at the end. So now I could have used it in that not very steep but longer climbing section that's before that gate. Wouldn't have been much of a help. It only gets up to 4% briefly through there. The only other place I would have used it would have been after the gate, and then I wouldn't have had the feather for the end. So sometimes it's smart to think those things through when you want to use your power-ups to be as strategic as possible. I know it's like an extra step, which is what's kind of nice about the races that don't have power-ups. You don't have to think through that. That's also why it's kind of important to do race recon before you race. Like you can watch this video or someone else's. There's plenty of people on YouTube doing these races. And that's what I do. I watch the morning before the race, I watch someone else who did the race the day before, and I can see, like, it will refresh me on what the course is. I can see where people might want to attack because it's a race situation. It's likely people might attack in the same spots in most races, so I can watch their race, see what happens, see where maybe I want to use power-ups if I get them, get the ones that I want. And think through my tactics beforehand. So I highly recommend doing that if you really want to make a good go at these Zwift races and you want to eke out any advantage possible. I highly recommend doing that. And then I also recommend using the app. It's on a website. It's not an app you download. It's a web app called Zwifter Bikes. Zwifter Bikes. And you plug in the world, the Zwift world that the race is in, the race route, what level you are, and how many sweat drops you have. And then you go through and you select like what bike options you want the app to consider, like gravel bike, TT bike, stuff like that. And then, which for these races you don't want to worry about TT bikes, but I would recommend selecting the gravel bike because there are some routes that gravel bikes do have the advantage. And then you select if you have the Tron bike or the Milstein wheels, and then it'll spit out for you what is likely the fastest frame and wheel combo for your level for that route. Now it does kind of assume a consistent wattage throughout the whole race. So if you're someone who, I don't know, maybe you're heavier and you're much more of a sprinter, and you basically just sprint up these short climbs, and then you can back off the power somewhat significantly when you're in the group on the downhills and the flats. You know, use this site with a grain of salt. But if you're someone like me who tends to do a more consistent power throughout, it's a pretty good indicator on what bike and wheel set to use for the race. Up until I got to level 39 last week, the Tron bike, it was always saying the Tron bike was the fastest bike for pretty much most races. But once I hit 39 and those DT Swiss wheels became available for me, now it looks like either the Specialized Venge or the Felt AR with those new wheels are the fastest bike, at least for this route. I'm sure it'll be for most routes that I race, with the exception of, you know, a route that's mostly climbing. Which isn't very, it's not very frequent that you use that you race a route that has a huge amount of climbing in it, because then a super light bike has more of an advantage. I will say though, one time I did a race in Innsbruck. I forget the name of the route, but it has that one climb that's like, what, 20-30 minutes long? But then there's a decent downhill and flat section after that climb. I remember I picked a light bike. This was before that Zwifter app. And man, I was so bad at climbing at the time that the light bike didn't really help me on the climb, and it really was a huge disadvantage everywhere else. So I probably should have just kept the best all-around bike for my level at that time. But now I'm a lighter person. I'm better at holding sustained powers. I should be better at climbing, so who knows? A lighter bike on a route like that might be better for me now. Alright friends, well that was today's race. Hopefully I got top 10 officially. We'll see. But even if I stay at 13th or 12th or 11th, I'm still very happy with my performance today. I did not lose the front group at all. I stayed on top of the race. Sometimes I get so worn out that I just can't mentally focus and stay on top of the riders, and that's how I get dropped without really even realizing it until it's too late. But today I was hungry for the race, hungry to perform, hungry to kick butt. I didn't quite have it into me to win. If I pushed harder earlier on that final climb, maybe. It was like we got to the start of the climb and nobody was really punching it. And so I just kept the pace, afraid to go too early and then get caught. But that's like the end race tactics that, you know, even seasoned pros can get wrong. When to push it, when not to push it. I was feeling pretty good. I probably should have pushed it right when it started to ramp up and just tried to hold it through the end, but that's alright. I'm still very proud, and did really great work. So I'll catch you all hopefully next week. Christmas is Monday. I won't see you before Christmas because I will not be racing Christmas Day. Hopefully, my whole family will be home next Tuesday, so hopefully I'll be able to get on and race. So hopefully I'll see you all then. All right, have a Merry Christmas and enjoy your time.